From LateNighter.com, it's Inside Late Night with Mark Malkoff.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Inside Late Night with Mark Malkoff. My name is John Schneider, a producer for Inside Late Night, and I'm so excited to bring you another great episode today where Mark will be sitting down and talking to Jo Firestone, who is a comedian, actor, and writer whose late night credits include stints on The Chris Gethard Show, The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, Ziwe, and most recently After Midnight, where she was the show's head writer and co-executive producer. She speaks at length about her experience working on After Midnight and how it came to a sudden end this spring in what would end up being a precursor to CBS announcing it was canceling Stephen Colbert's Late Show and exiting late night altogether. It is a fascinating conversation, and I hope you enjoy it here on the Late Nighter Podcast Network. So make sure to subscribe and let us know what you think of the episode. So without further ado, here is Mark Malkoff.
Jo Firestone, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. It's been a while.
It has. I met you a long time ago. You and your dad were doing a show, and I was reached out to. I think you had just maybe weren't doing stand up for maybe that long at that point. But you and your dad hosted a show called Punderdome. Was it 3000? Was that the show in Brooklyn? It was a pun competition.
Yeah, he still does it.
That's amazing. Yeah, your dad sent me a Punderdome T-shirt. I was one of the judges, and he had me. He sent me a book about Harry Houdini, which was really nice too.
Okay, great. That's nice of him.
Yeah, your dad's the best. He does a Rodney Dangerfield impression. He's very, very good at what he does with hosting. He's very, very likable. But it's good to see you. So I want to talk about after midnight, and so many. I mean, you wrote for Fallon. You were just on Fallon. There's so much to talk about. But how did you get hired on After Midnight? They announced Taylor Tomlinson was going to be the host. They were going to be redoing the show. How did you get hired?
I don't know. I thought it was going to be, I think it's one of those cases where it's like, oh, you think you're not going to get the job, and that's the only time you get the job. You know what I mean? I am not very, I like games a lot, and I like late night a lot, but I'm not super, internet savvy. I'm not like very online, and, like they were asking what would be a good head writer in the interview, and I was like, probably someone who's like 23, really good at internet, really like fresh, and they, I guess, ignored me. And then I also think that they were like, at one point they were like, so what is your strength as a head writer? And then I said riffing, and then they're like, could you give us an example? And I was silent. So I just could, you know what I mean? Like I'm shocked that I got the job. I think maybe what's sealed the deal was when I first got on the Zoom, Baby Doll Dixon.
Of course, yeah. No, he's a legend. Started at William Morris. He manages. I mean, he represents everyone from Colbert to Kimmel. Many more names. Sure, Jon Stewart.
So he was the first person to sign on to the Zoom. And his Zoom, all I could see was like the top of a Lincoln Town Car and the plume of a cigarette, like just the smoke coming out. And I guess we talked about cigarettes for a bit before anyone else came on. And maybe that's what, it's hard to say. If Baby Doll hadn't been on there first, I don't know. Maybe it was just a couple people need to talk about cigarettes. That might be it.
I mean, you're very funny. You're very likable. You have impeccable credits and also that performing background. But I have to ask this question. So when the trades announced that you were going to be the head writer of this show, and so many comics need jobs, like, does your email inbox is it just like unmanageable with the number of people that reach out to you that day or the day before that are like, can I submit, or how can you get me a job? Like, I've never been in that situation. Is that what happened? And how did you handle that?
Yeah, a lot of people reached out. I mean, there were like no jobs. It was like, I think right before the strike was announced. so there really were like no jobs at all, and I couldn't even read packets because there was the strike. So I couldn't, you know what I mean? Like, I think that they got packets before the strike started, and so they had all these packets, but I couldn't read them. And so I just kept a list of everybody that reached out to me, so then I could make sure to like read their packet, or but it is like, I guess on some level it's overwhelming because so many people need jobs, and like there's this kind of idea that maybe you could give them a job, but it never really quite works like that. Like, it's like, yes, you could say that you want to hire them, but then you got to get 8 other people's approval, and then maybe they want someone else. And so then you have to say, oh, okay, well, you know, it's always like, I wish it was very simple, but I think it's a little bit more, I wish it was just like, okay, I have all the power, I'm going to give you a job. And then it was, but that's never really quite what it is. There's just a lot of cooks. There's a lot of cooks in the kitchen.
How many packets do you estimate that you read, and what was the packet like that the people had to write?
People had to write a packet about, I think it was, they had to write, it was like based on the old show, the packet. So that it was like, right, like the I think it was called Rapid Refresh at the time. It's like the opening act 1. I think they had to do some of like those kinds of jokes and setups, and then they had to do some hashtag wars and some game ideas, I think is what they had to do for the packet.
And how many of those did you have to read? And what was the process? Like, I would think as head writer, you would be able to like, oh, this is the funniest person, I want this person. But how many did you have to read? And then where did they just went up to all the producers would want to read it? I can't see Stephen Colbert being like, I like this packet, but I don't like this packet.
Well, but he read a lot of them. And so he was like, he had opinions too. You know what I mean? Like, he obviously
I'm
wanted
surprised.
like, you know, I think he identifies with writers, and I think he comes from a performing comedy writing background. So it's like, I think he knows what he wants in a room, and everybody kind of brought their own experience and has people that they see where their value could come in. And, you know, yeah, I think it was something like, I don't remember. I have a really bad memory, but the number that's coming to me, and I don't know if this is right, but I think it was like 1,600 packets.
And you read all of them?
Yeah.
That Robert Smigel said when they launched Conan, anybody that this is unsolicited that would send stuff to NBC, he read every single packet. I was going to guess maybe a couple hundred, but 1,600 for how many writers did you have? Was it 10, maybe something like that?
I think initially we got to hire 8, maybe.
Wow. So you're just covering, is it just that you cover up all the names and you're just, this is funny, this is not funny, and it's pretty evident for, I guess, maybe certain people that don't really get the voice of the show, and they're eliminated? I mean, it's kind of like a reality show in its own.
But that's the thing, is that you don't really, when you're starting a new show, you don't really know the voice of the show. You know, so like I didn't know the voice of the show. Like, I knew what I thought was funny, and then I knew what the other producers thought was funny, and then you try to kind of balance that. And then, you know, at that point I hadn't, like, Taylor wasn't really involved in the picking of the initial room. So then, you know, you kind of have to, I know, and I wasn't super like close with Taylor at the time. We got to be close, but at the time we didn't really have a working relationship because we were just 2 people independently hired. So then it was like, I was just kind of guessing what the voice should be, hoping that this would be it. And yeah.
What were your suggestions to the producers on any changes from the original version hosted by Chris Hardwick? If there were any differences or things that we might want to try, if there were any.
You know, I don't know if I can think of like, I mean, I think it did change quite a bit over the course of the show. We got, I think that it became more about trying to make, I think it became less, because of the way we had to write so quickly, I think it became less about like I think the first act was definitely about the internet and what was happening in the news, and then I think as the show, like as it got later in the evening, I think it kind of became more about just like getting the comedians to shine. And I also think people shined on the original show, but this was just like the intention was just like it doesn't need to be necessarily internet focused. It can just be like let's just make sure that they are funny.
With those changes, did that come in from a friend of the show, Nick Bernstein on CBS's end? Was it Taylor? Was it Colbert? Where did the changes with the format as it evolved that come in from Taylor? Or where did it come from?
They came from everybody, but like, and then we added a monologue. That
Yeah.
was a new change. Like we kind of just added like a lot of people had thoughts, and then we would try things and we would rearrange things and reorder things and then take things away, and it was a lot. It felt like maybe the first season every show was an experiment where you're like I guess this is going to be the new way to do it, and so it was like nice that people would watch because I was like it's not ready yet I don't think, but people are watching and it's funny, but I don't think it's like stapled down. I mean, no late night show is stapled down within the first year, and so it's like you just need that time and that kind of forgiveness of the audience, and I think people were very generous with us, and I think we eventually figured out how to do the show.
Yeah, if somebody was going to be on the show, I'm going to pick somebody at random, like an Andy Richter.
Mhm.
How much notice does he get? I'm guessing like a script or a loose script from the writers with prepared material, which I'm guessing he can use or he could go off on his own. How much notice would somebody get to prepare if you're going to be on the show?
I think they got it as soon as we were done with the jokes. So
Could that be the day up? Could that be like 3 hours before taping? Was that the day
yeah.
before?
Hmm. And then they got to look at the packet, pick their jokes, write new jokes, and then yeah.
Is stuff on cue cards for them? Do they have a teleprompter if they want to use
Yep,
that?
yep, both, yeah. Yeah.
So, because sometimes you would have people that were not, trained comedians that would come, but everything would be pretty much fail proof. I mean, that they would have the material that they could go on. So you could have somebody like that would just go in and feel secure and not freak out that they have to be witty or funny, that they could maybe go off on their own if they wanted to, but they have everything in front of them, correct?
Yeah, well, I think that speaks a lot to the talent department and the segment producer Dom, and I think also just and Alex Wells, who was kind of working with them and preparing them each game before each act. But I think that also it's there was like a system in place. In many ways, we weren't going in fresh. There was a system in place from At Midnight, which worked and like got comedians and everybody to deliver. And so we kind of based the whole structure of the sending jokes, writing, you know what I mean, like how the packet is conveyed from there. Oh, hi, Kitty. From
Yeah,
there.
that's a cat cameo. That's never happened with any of my podcasts.
Really?
We have yeah, my cat is
It's a beautiful cat. It looks
that
like
was
Garfield.
Boo, named after Boo Radley.
Oh.
For Mockingbird. But yeah, Boo made a cameo. I have to get him to sign a release form. So would they have rehearsals then with the contestants? Would some of them want? So they would do a rehearsal. And you were at Paramount, which I think is like the coolest thing ever. I mean, the broadcast center would have been nice too with the history, but just like a lot, I just kind of thought that they would maybe throw you in kind of like I don't know, not like a major like a Warner Brothers Paramount, but that's pretty cool being on a lot in the history of that place.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was cool. It's like it feels like kind of like a rideless Six Flags. Like, you know what I mean? Because like you go around, like, oh look, there's fake New York. Oh, there's fake Chicago. Oh, there's a water tower. You know what I mean? Like there's a pond with koi fish. There's a cat. You know what I mean? Like there's like lots of things to see if you need to walk around and and that
Be easily entertained. And then the plaques on all those studio doors, it's like,
Oh yeah,
I
that's
remember
pretty
I
fun.
went over to visit one of my friends at Dr. Fallon. It's like, what filmed here? Arsenio Hall, The Godfather, that was stage
That's where
29.
we were at the Dr. Phil stage.
Oh, really? You were
Mhm.
there? Yeah, The Godfather, Arsenio, Dr. Phil to you. That's very good. What are some of the highlights that stand out after midnight? Some of your favorite moments behind the scenes or during the tape-ins that stand out?
Um, this is a good time to have a memory. I would say that I would say in general it was like a really really good crew and staff. Like everybody was like very kind and like it wasn't like crazy hours, so like no, I don't think it was like there was not like the as far as late night goes, it wasn't crazy hours, so it was like just like we were gonna try our best with this, and it felt like everybody's mm, head and heart was like we're all steering in the same direction.
As head writer, what was that pressure like? How would you describe the pressure? Maybe what you were saying, people were super supportive. There wasn't that much pressure, but to be head writer on some shows is a pressure cooker. Did you feel that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would say yeah. I got like yeah. I would say I felt it. I got I came away with gray teeth and patches of white hair, and I got into a couple car accidents. There was a lot. There's I would say it's an average amount of stress, but I think it's like that's the job you get hired to do. You get hired to take on the stress of other people and have people get mad at you, and that's the whole job. And as far as jobs go, there's other ones that are worse for sure.
When would Taylor Tomlinson arrive? Usually on those shows, for late night, they're there all day. But this was a little bit different, being a host of essentially, it's a game show, but um, with comedians. What were her hours like when she would come into the studio?
I'm not sure when she would get there
Yeah.
because she went to hair and makeup and wardrobe, and she would read through things and work on monologue, and so yeah, she had a different schedule than I did. Uh, but yeah, so I was kind of in this. I was in this very cold room with the writers, and then I would go to this very cold room with the booth people, and that was I would just walk from different cold rooms.
Who were the best contestants? People that could just show up and wing it and be effortlessly funny without much preparation. Who would some of those people be? Would you say that were contestants?
Well, everybody had preparation. I would say like everyone was like there was like even if they're like I don't want preparation, they got quite a lot of preparation. I would say so, but that I would say that like Sashir Zamado was amazing, Lisa Gilroy was amazing, Guy Branum was always amazing, Marcela Arguello was always amazing, Thomas Lennon really
Paul
good,
Tompkins,
really
Maria
funny.
Bamford, some of those
Maria
people that were
Bamford's
on
so
all the
good.
time
Aparna and Cherla was so
yeah, they
good.
were so good. And
Yeah.
some of them would bring in their own material,
Yeah,
correct?
like Kurt Braunohler one time he called his daughter on the show to tell her that he lost. It was beautiful. It was
Love
beautiful.
when stuff like that would happen. What were the test shows like? Was Stephen Colbert there for those test shows and for like the first taping? Was he
He was there for
hands-on?
the first taping, yeah. And yeah,
What were the test shows like?
the test shows. I don't. I think they were in my memory. I'm thinking the one word that's coming. I don't know. Lots of games. We tried lots of games, and to the point where I was like, "Oh, these games need to go because we've played them too much." But yeah, I think they were. I wish at these times, if you were like, "Hey, what did you do today?" I'd be like, "I can tell you this."
No, I get that. I've talked to people. I worked at a day job at the Colbert Report for 3 years and 8 months, but who's counting? And I'd be with people, and we'd be with it like A-list people, and stuff would happen, and I'd be like, "Do you remember that?" And they're like, "Mark, I don't. I have no recollection of that whatsoever." And I'm just like, I get it. It's constant. It's just
You
a
remember it
TV
though.
show. I have a problem with my memory. Not a problem. It's a problem where I remember everything from the time where I could tell you who my nursery school teacher was when I was 3 years old and 2 years old. And there's something wrong with.
That's amazing. That's really amazing.
Yeah, I had David Cross on this podcast, and this was something from like 30 years ago or something. I was like, "This is what my recollection of our conversation." I went blah blah blah. Did this? Is this true? Is this true? This true? And we went through everything, and it happens a lot where yeah, things are confirmed. So yeah, it's for something like this, it's good for me. Like we had Jonathan Groff on from Conan, and I was able to recollect some stuff from like probably 30 years ago or 25 years ago and stuff. And it just for
No, I think a
something
lot of
wrong with me.
no, I think it's really good. It's a really good skill to have, especially with the late night field because there's so much of it. It's like not. It's like you get like 3 to 4 times the memories because you have to do 1,000 shows. You know what I
It
mean?
it it is good to yeah, I'm good with the memories on that, but at the same time, my second grade teacher who was not nice to me, this stuff is like will just come to me, and it's like, why did you have to be like? You shouldn't have been a school teacher. You were not good with kids.
You
Uh,
still think that. I guess it's like I think maybe maybe I'm hoping this is a strength is that I have maybe the brain of a mosquito, right? Where it's like, what's today?
yeah,
What's for lunch? Where are we going? Where do we go today? And then we start it all over again. And maybe that's an advantage in
it
some
works.
places, but uh, yeah.
So, how did Taylor Tomlinson reveal to the staff and crew that she was leaving? Because oftentimes when somebody says something like this, it gets leaked instantly, and
Mhm.
it has to be done in a certain way where I would think that they didn't want it leaked, that they would want the people there to know first before it got out, because you can tell the staff, you can tell crew, you can tell whoever, just please keep this quiet. But time after time, I've seen that get leaked. How did that work?
It's kind of like well, it's like we had this phone tree system that we'd set up during the fires. So it was like you check in with certain people, those people check in with certain people, and you just make sure everybody's okay. And so that was, that being a precedent, the fires were terrible, but that kind of system in place kind of helped us with this situation. But yeah, Taylor called me and told me, and then um, the next morning I called my department, everyone in my department, before we went in to tell them so that they had a little time to process it. And then that happened with other departments too. The heads of the departments called their um, people, and then just to let them know so that they weren't finding out either with the rest of the world or with, um, yeah, so everybody kind of knew before there was a big meeting.
Those jobs are so all-consuming. Were you surprised? I mean, it's tough because Taylor's like this amazing stand-up, and
Hmm.
you to go out there and people are paying so much money, and they're paying. And I'm not saying for her, but I'm just saying in general, they're paying money. They're getting babysitters. They're a lot of them are driving and just going on the train. Taylor, for her to get up, or any stand-up, you want to give them the best, and you want to
Yeah.
have that energy. And sometimes these things are, unless you're Jay Leno and a robot cyborg, for the most part, most human beings, it's very hard to be able to have the energy to do both of these things.
Yeah.
Were you surprised when that could you tell that this was foreshadowing that she might want to step away?
I didn't know she was going to step away, but I think that she really was working every single day, and she was doing these road shows, which are no joke. I just got to see one at Beacon Theater. It's like a long show that's really well crafted, and she delivers. Like she really, it's like I don't the she makes it worth the ticket. You know what I mean? Like it's like this is a great show. It feels good. It's like
How long was she on stage roughly, if you had to guess?
I don't know. That was the great thing about it. It was like
Yeah,
I didn't think about the time. And I'm like, that's a good performer. If when you don't think about the time,
true.
that's good. That's powerful. Because in like, some performers you're like, this is minute 8. You know what I mean? And that's not she's not like that at all. And so I think it's like there's only I think she was kind of giving it her all for every single job she had. And I think that those both are jobs you probably can't really do both. You know what I mean? It's like it's a lot of work.
Who made the decision for the guest host? Who was I usually so prep it. I know that after midnight there was a somebody stepped up to guest host.
Lisa Gilroy did.
Yes, and she was excellent. And
Mhm.
Lisa, I'm sorry, we'd love to talk to you and have you on. How was that decided? Were there other names being floated around for a guest host?
That is unfortunately above my pay grade. I was just told. I was told Lisa's doing it. Call her, and I called her, and that's great. You know what I mean? I think that is to be a showrunner or to be in talent booking. Those are both jobs that I don't believe I could do. Those are really hard jobs, and you have to know a lot of information that I didn't have to know, which is
It never
great.
occurred to me that they wouldn't get another host. At what point were you told that they weren't gonna continue with the show? I mean, I know Taylor Tomlinson kind of figured you're gonna get somebody else. I mean, there was so many people would have wanted that gig, and I was very surprised. But how soon did you find out that it wasn't going to go on after she made the announcement
Oh, that's when we found out. Yeah,
that they weren't? Oh, yeah, they
yeah.
announced when they announced that she was leaving. They announced that they weren't going to continue. I
Mhm.
forget
But
about that.
she
Okay,
wanted
yeah.
to find another host, but I don't think it was um,
Yeah.
in the cards.
Did you keep in touch with Jimmy Fallon during this time? Because you were a writer at the show from 2016 to 2018. It was so nice when you would show up on the show and you'd
Oh,
stand up
thanks.
on the show. And they had in June they had you back, and we'll talk about you're a correspondent. But did you keep in touch with Jimmy during the years that you after you left the show, or how did you get called back to do the show?
I'm not sure. I don't know why any of this happens. I just,
Because you're funny and you're dependable and people love you.
okay, that's nice. I mean, I feel like it's like, um, every time I'm like, well, that was a nice last job. But that's, you know what I mean? That's how this business goes. But I think that, yeah,
Detachment is a very powerful thing. There's so many people that we both know that are just like, I need to get the next job. And it's just like that energy is not great.
well, it
And I
can't
mean,
really help you. It doesn't really help to be like,
yeah. I mean, it's definitely good to have,
maybe I'm anti-manifest.
I mean, having ambition and having goals and that's good. But yeah, there's somebody I know you're not on social media, but that I know of anymore. But yeah,
Mm.
people love you and people
Oh,
are like,
that's
she should
nice.
play Carol Kane in the biopic, and I was
Oh,
reading what
that's
different
nice.
people were writing in comments. No, but people absolutely love you. How did you get hired at Fallon in 2016, 2018? Did they ask you to do a packet? Did you want to write there and do a submission to write?
I did want to work there. I had worked on before that. I had worked on the Chris Gethard Show, and I'd written a pilot. Written on a pilot with for Arthur Meyer in
He's
Comedy
great. Yeah.
Central, and then he ended up going to work. I guess he went back to the Tonight Show, and then but the two of us that worked on that pilot were hired, as well as two others.
Were you on the sketch side or the monologue side?
I was on the sketch side, and yeah,
That's so much more fun than the monologue. I mean, it's
yeah.
different muscles for sure. How did your meeting go with Jimmy when they brought you in before you were hired? What was that like?
I didn't meet with Jimmy.
Wow, everybody I've talked to for the most part had a meeting with Jimmy, and then after they got hired, they'd play a video game with him. But you didn't have the video game
I played video games later, but not then. Nope.
that you played with him.
We played a lot of what's that game called? Squatch catch, cat,
Are there?
skid,
Yeah,
skid mark. What is it called? That's like the thing
I
that,
know Pac-Man and Mario Brothers.
no, it's like the thing
There's
where you write jokes on your phone.
you know what? People if
Squash,
you're
quad,
lis-
quash, quash, quiplash.
there
Got it.
we go.
Quiplash.
Joe to the buzzer, you got it. Now, what are some of your favorite moments from being from writing on Fallon? Just backstage moments and just stuff that you were in. I mean, that you played. I know, was it Miss Backup Ohio? You played Kellyanne Conway and some other some great pieces where you were doing remotes. What stands out as some of your favorite moments from Fallon?
It was like a lot of I would say like that crew is also, and like the staff there is so nice. Like they're just
Yeah.
such good people, and it was just like I think that it was a lot of. It felt really cool to be working in 30 Rock and to be like, it just felt like so different from anything I'd ever done, and that like my family knew what it was, and like they were like they like people had heard of. I don't know. It felt like a very cool thing. It was also like a very weird time, in general for the country, and it was yeah. But I think that it was like I ended up working there and then stepping away and then coming back, and then I had a personal tragedy, and then I stepped away and then stopped working for a bit.
Yeah, you wrote a piece, is it the New York Times, about tragedy that I'm sure helped a lot of people. Was that the Times that you wrote? Was that the
I
piece?
did, yeah. hmm my best friend died, and that kind of made me not quite in the space to do comedy and write and be around people. So yeah.
No, I get it. And that working at a show like that, what were the hours like on Fallon, roughly?
I truly wish we had brain swap. I wish so badly, Mark, that we had brain swap.
No, you don't, because you'd be fixated on when you were 7 years old at in Arlington Heights, Illinois, and the school bully is stuffing you in a locker. But we didn't have lockers back then. But it's all good. But typically those shows, a lot of times, I mean, back at Letterman Conan days, they were 12-hour days for writers. I mean, they were, unless you were on monologue, they were really, really tough. No, who were some of the guests? I saw a photo, for example, I saw a photo of you and Hillary Clinton and some of the other
hmm
staffers that you got to work with. But who were some of the fun people that you went backstage to either say hi or you wrote bits for that stand out?
I never said hi to anyone. Um, that's kind of my policy, is just um, don't speak unless you need to. But like I remember, like I like sometimes you did have to go in and talk to people, and I remember one of the nicest people was Kate Upton. Like she was just so nice, and I knew that what we were asking her to do was like I wouldn't have wanted to do it. Like she had to dance, and I was like, I and you have to kind of make it seem like you want her to dance and that she's gonna have fun dancing, and she probably would. I'm not a dancer. She's maybe more of a dancer than I am, and so I was like, "You're gonna get to dance," and she's like, "Great," and she was just like so friendly and didn't mind me like shaking and quaking, and that's always a nice thing.
When you would do new products and you would show up on the show, would you ever say, I might be good for this role, or would they just kind of throw you in? Would it be somebody else's idea to have you on camera?
I think it started. Other people had told me to do it, and then yeah, I think that usually it was like I think if ever, usually it was someone else's idea. I
That's what I kind of
remember
figured. Yeah.
always thinking like, oh, today is a day that I look really nasty, and then I thought, okay, well we'll try it, and then it's like it's nerve wracking because you got to do it in front of the rehearsal audience, and if
Oh
they
yes, back then they don't do that anymore. They had
oh
rehearsal audiences.
yeah,
Yeah,
so then if you didn't,
pre-pandemic.
you had to make them laugh, and then if you didn't make them laugh, it's not happening. You know what I mean? Because they're not, they only have so much time in the show, and so you got to make them laugh, and then you got to make sure that also that you make the show audience laugh, and it's not like you get multiple takes. You just have to go.
You did stand up on the show twice, I believe, on the Tonight Show. It might have been more, but when you first did it, I think it might have been 2019. How did that come about? Again, just from talking to you, it seems like you wouldn't be somebody to be like, you know what? Would it be okay if I did stand up on the Tonight Show? It sounds like it would either be a representation would reach out, or they would just be like, she's so funny. we went around. How did that come about?
I feel like I am conveying a story of being like just a fragment in the wind floating for, and I do feel like I'm intentionally trying to do comedy and writing. I swear to you, I actively love to write comedy. However, I would say in terms of steering my career or whatever, I don't think that is my strong suit, and I'm happy to get work when I get it, but it's not like I'm like, how did I end up here? You know what I mean? It's like I understand that I got jobs, and I understand that these are jobs that are hard to get, and that that the jobs are rare and special, and but I just don't. If you were like, could you do that? How do you get that job again? I'd be like, so really, I don't think I could get that job again. You know what I mean? It's like it feels very up to chance.
What was it like
ways.
doing stand up though on the Tonight Show and getting to do panel and sitting next to Jimmy on the couch afterwards? Was it fun? Did you have a good time, or was it nerve wracking? Was it both?
I think it was. I was nervous. I was very nervous. I'm nervous all the time, though. I mean, it's like
It helps though, right? On stage.
no, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Help. It was fun though. You did great. Now, when you came back to the show in June and you did Cold Takes, which was on the street talking to people while they put their heads in the buckets of ice water. Was that your creative? Did they give you the creative and just said we want you to be just talk to people, or how did that bit come about, and what was that like filming?
Yeah, I got a call. It was David Young's bit, and I got a call to come in and do it. And I was with my mom. I had just moved back to New York, and my mom and I were, I think, eating cookies at the time. And then I was like, oh, I got to go into this thing. And she's like, wow, it's Hollywood. And I thought, I guess so. I guess this is Hollywood.
Would you move back to LA? Did you think that was going to be your permanent home, or did you always know you were going to come back here? Or did you think that was your permanent move?
No, I spent a lot of my income on paying rent here in New York and also LA. I think that it was like I was intending to come back to New York eventually. I am in a relationship with someone that lives in New York, and I have this dog, and I think the dog was very flexible coming to LA, but I think the dog, maybe is a better fit in New York.
Tell me a story, one of your favorite stories about you were a consulting producer on the Chris Gethard Show, because it's just, there was just so many magical moments on that show that would just happen organically, where a lot of on shows, everything is so overly produced, but there was just something special about that show. But can you just tell us something that stands out?
I remember we were for the I got to work with JD Amato twice, so I got to work with him at After Midnight, and then also first on the Chris Gethard Show, and we were gathered around for the dumpster episode, which was Nicole Drespel's idea, and it was like, what's in the dumpster? That was the whole episode with Jason Mantzoukas and Paul Scheer, I believe, were the guests. This is like the best my memory has worked in years. Okay, so then basically we were gathered around, and JD was like, we will be getting somebody in the dumpster. Now, I think he gave us a code name. I don't remember what the code name was, but we were all kind of like appointed secret agents to keep this secret from the audience, to keep this secret from, like the press or whatever. And we all had to kind of work together to make sure that this person was shuttled from the car to the backstage to the, into the dumpster, then the dumpster onto the stage. And and then Paul Giamatti came out at the end.
It happened.
That was pretty cool. And there was one time we did a show with all, I think like 30 dogs, and they just kept, I think we didn't realize that they would just keep pissing and shitting the whole time. And it's never smelled worse in a TV studio. I couldn't believe what was happening on camera, and we just like I remember this guy Jersey Dave kept having to crawl out and pick up, dirty wee wee pads, come back, and I was like, this is a grown man that's doing the craziest job I've ever seen, and that yeah.
In your experience on Late Night Fallon and Chris Gethard and After Midnight, what are one or two Larry Sanders show type things where if you were writing for Sanders and they were asking for real stories, because sometimes on Sanders would be inspired by this person or this story of like backstage at late night. Are there any that you would pitch possibly that you witnessed or saw? You don't have to mention names if you don't want to.
I'm sure there is. I think the one thing that's just coming to mind, and this is just a visual thing that I remember fondly, is that I was walking down the hall. I was running late to do something for the show. I was like scrambling, and you're never supposed to scramble, just so you know. You're never supposed to run. Whatever. I'm nervous or whatever. Okay, so you're never supposed to run. I was scrambling, running through those, hair, glasses, whatever. And then I ran past 5 human-sized chickens. And I was like, what are those chickens doing? And then I realized that they were the Backstreet Boys. They're dressed as chickens. And I thought, that's never, you don't want to get that every day. And one time I was in the elevator with David S. Pumpkins.
See, those are some great. That's what I want to hear.
Not even Tom Hanks, David S. Pumpkins. He was in costume. He was getting ready to go do a bit, and I couldn't believe it. I said, "Look, I'm experiencing this." Like, here's one thing I remember. This is a nice one. Okay, so my mom came to the show, and I was, I'm really nervous, and I don't want to make any bad moves or wrong moves. And then I just started the show, and we were leaving at the end. I showed her around the office, and we were leaving, and Questlove was leaving at the same time, and he was way down the hall. And she's like, "Is that Questlove?" And I was like, "It is Questlove." And she goes, "Should we say hi?" And I said, "No, just leave. Let him be." And she goes, "Oh, shouldn't we say hi?" And I said, I just don't think. And then she goes, "Questlove." And then Questlove turned around and he walked towards us. He's like, "Hi, how are you? Welcome to the show." He was so sweet. And he held the elevator for us. And then on the way down, and my mom was just chatting him up. And I was like, "Oh my God, please don't mess this up." And then on the way down, he looked at his phone and he got a text. And he goes, "Oh, Beyonce had twins." And my mom was like, "Oh my gosh." And that's how we learned that Beyonce had twins.
Historic.
Mm-hmm.
Write it down. Take a snapshot in your mind.
That's
fun that you got to do that. Your I never met your mom, but your dad is so fun and gregarious in a good way, and so I'm sure that he was charmed. So were you relieved at all with After Midnight that the pressure was off? Because it seemed like it was a lot of pressure, that the pressure's off. Like most people would be like, "Oh gosh, I want this gig to go on forever." They're hard to get. The money is usually pretty good. But was it a relief? I get to move back to New York and I don't have the pressures. I can maybe go back to stand up, which is its own pressure. But was there anything that you've kind of like, this is actually might be a good thing for me personally?
I think it was, I think it's like bittersweet, because it's like you don't want the show to go on any longer than it should, and if people are unhappy, you don't want it. You know what I mean? But also, like, I think it was a really good gig, and it had a lot of really great people working there, and I felt very lucky to be working there. I think that also, just the nature of these shows nowadays, like, it's like a lot of shows don't last forever. A lot of shows last 2 to 3 seasons, and then you work on something else, and that's kind of, it's not like that is unheard of. And I felt like, okay, you know what? I've been in this place before, and it's not unprecedented, and it's going to be fine.
Did you have any foreshadowing? Were you surprised when they announced the Colbert Show was going to be canceled, the Late Show?
I was shocked. I was
I was too.
I was watching Superman in theaters, and um, and my phone was blowing up, and I was like, "What? Yeah, I never get texts. I never get texts. Very quiet phone." And my phone was blowing up, and I thought, "Oh no, somebody's died." And then I got out, and nobody had died, but Colbert was canceled.
Always would help people when they would say about the ratings going down. I'm like, you don't have 20 plus WGA writers on a show unless it's profitable. And there weren't any there to my knowledge, there wasn't any noticeable downsizing, like let's try to save expenses. It was the whole thing just completely shocked me. It's really sad, but he's was such a nice man, and I know he on your book, which has almost 200 ratings on Amazon. Your book, Murder on Sex Island, you have a nice blurb from Colbert. Now, I know somebody that Colbert gave a blurb to somebody and basically said, if you write it, I'll say it, and asks sometimes we'll ask the author to actually just write the blurb. Did Stephen actually write his blurb, or did you write it?
I think we talked about what it should be, and then he did the final copy of it.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure, but you have amazing reviews from Vulture and Boston Globe, Publishers Weekly. Tell us about your book.
Well, I wrote it when I was I didn't have a job for a while, and I was like, I love mysteries, I love reading them, and so I was like, maybe I could write like a really juicy, sexy one. And then as I was writing it, I realized I couldn't really make it too sexy. I just couldn't physically bring pen to paper to write sex scenes. And so I was like, dang, this is not as juicy as I wanted it to be. And then it ended up being pretty chaste, I would say. There's almost no penetration in the whole book, unfortunately.
Spoiler alert.
Sorry. And then, but I was like, oh, this will be great. Maybe I can just be a murder mystery author. And then I tried to get it published, and nobody wanted it, so I self-published it. And then we made a podcast audiobook of it, and then it eventually became a published book. I did another version of it where I sewed up a lot of the plot holes with Bantam, and then it became a book. So
I don't know any other book like that where you self-published the book. Did you try to get it published and you couldn't? And then you the podcast, and then that's what got you the book deal. Okay.
Well, I think more people were able to hear. I mean, it's like they listened to it. They were able to listen to it for free, and and I think that I think people were. I think it was maybe just the right time, or just it was just fun to listen. I don't know. It was just like this. I think people like the sexy murder mysteries. Even
they
if
love
they're not
your
that sexy.
book.
Even if
the
they're
reviews
not
and the people on Amazon absolutely love it. And
oh, good.
Is Good Timing with Jo Firestone still on Peacock?
I think so. I don't think they've taken it down.
October 21 they put up. Now, I don't know if you're still doing this, but you were teaching comedy classes to seniors, weekly class. This was at the Greenwich House Senior Center. Do you still do that?
I do. I just did it last night. We do it every week. We've done it for a little over 5 years now.
How do you think that that's affected you? Because, it's just that whenever I did a podcast for a long time, 8 years, where I was talking to a lot of older people, and I spend time with them. I go into their homes, and they just don't. A lot of the times, they're so uncensored, they don't care anymore. Whereas, like sometimes, younger people are just very careful, maybe sometimes with what they say. But I just absolutely loved sitting down with the with people that were in their 90s, and even some people that were I think 100.
Well,
but how has that affected you, and what stands out about that whole experience? Like what are the takeaways?
Well, I started doing it because I was kind of jaded and felt like kind of bitter and frustrated with comedy and the whole business of it. I just felt like I couldn't navigate it, and I couldn't enjoy it, and I just didn't enjoy it anymore. I just thought
doing stand-up you weren't feeling it anymore, getting up in front of
no,
audiences?
I wasn't feeling any of it. I wasn't like the auditions and like the trying packets and the just everything. I just felt like I just couldn't find the joy in it anymore. And so I was like, maybe I'll teach a little bit and see people that really like it and really want to do it and be around those people. And I was living close to the Greenwich House at the time. And so then I just walked by and I thought, maybe I'll ask them. And they were down. And then it was like 2 weeks later, the pandemic started. So that we were doing it in person for 2 weeks. And then it became a Zoom thing from then on. But
when did the joy come back, if it has, in terms of you doing stand up and getting in front of people?
well, I really haven't done stand up in like 3 years or so. But
I didn't know it's been 3 years.
I
Was it
kind of stepped back.
was it the time that you did stand up and there was a couple that was in the audience making out? Was that one of your last gigs? Because I
That
remember you
might have been
talking.
one.
I
That
think
might
it
have
really was. I'm not even
Yeah,
joking.
that might
But I
have been one
remember
of the
you
last
going
gigs.
you a lot of times you're doing these alt shows in Brooklyn. I mean, you're a comedian that could go up in front of any type of audience, and there
No,
aren't. I would think
no,
that you
I
could.
insist that I can't. I
Well,
was,
you
I
sound like Janine Garofalo, somebody that's so accomplished that just doesn't
no,
see it. But I
no.
feel otherwise.
I I really do poorly in front of a lot of different people, and I think it's like I feel like this happens to me over and over again, where I was like, when I was a kid, I really wanted to be Bette Midler. You know what I mean? I just loved Bette
Sure.
Midler so much. I loved what she did. I loved her persona. I loved all of her roles. Loved that she sang. I can't sing. I can't really act. I can't dance. Okay? There's a lot of things there. So then I'm like, okay, maybe I just like watching Bette Midler. True. Same thing happened with musicals, where I was like, I want to be in musicals. I love musicals. Turns out I just love watching musicals. Same thing happened with improv comedy. Same thing happened with theater. Same thing happened with stand-up comedy. I prefer to watch it than I'm too nervous. I shake. I tremble.
I understand that. I would used to do sketch comedy. I don't have this problem anymore, but I would hyperventilate on stage and I would shake. When I did perform by myself too, I would have to put my hands in my pockets because my hands would be shaking.
I
And
remember I saw one of your shows, that the kids shows.
oh yeah, 2 Juice Minimum. You came to that? Oh, that's so
Hmm
nice. Yeah, that
That was
was
a nice
fun.
one.
Yeah, thank you for coming to that. But yeah, I was okay. You see, like if it's kids for whatever reason, they're not judgmental. Well,
Mm.
they are, but to me that was effortless. That's how it should be. If you're a performer going out there, it should feel comfortable. But you put grown-ups out there, it's definitely increases the pressure. But so like if you're in Clayton, Missouri, you're going to Clayton High School, you're outside of St. Louis. There is something that you said, I want to perform. I mean, you started when you were 20, you were at Westland, and you were in a sketch group called Lunchbox. So what you
You've really
so you,
done thorough background check.
so you have this, you want to do it, but it comes when you find out when you're doing it, you're good at it, but it has this other baggage pretty quickly with the anxiety.
Yeah, I think I'm just a pretty nervous person, and I think that I think it's also like I'm not the most confident person, and I think that easily I'm like, it's so easy for me to be like, look at one person in the audience and see them frowning and then think the whole thing was terrible. And I think that it's like, I really don't want to be like that, but I do feel like that. Like,
I mean, at Maria Bamford, who I think is one of the funniest people, unless something changed, will not audition. She's like, I'll do things if people offer me, but I don't audition. But like for some of these, I was just looking at some of the audience comments and stuff with you doing Joe Pera talks with you on Adult Swim when you played Sarah, and Marina on Shrill, how much the audiences love you. Is it one
oh,
of these things for gigs like this that you don't audition, that they just give it to you, and if they give it to you, you can shine? But is it the audition process? Did you have to audition for those?
no,
I didn't think you did. That was my
no,
guess, is that if somebody realizes they know what they're getting with you, you're good at what you do and stuff. Is that at least a little bit easier of a process where you have a little confidence where they're like, we want you for you?
no, no,
Goodness.
no,
Wow.
it feels I just feel pretty, I don't know. I think it's like, I think a lot of people feel like this nowadays, where it's like they just don't want to be perceived. I think that's like a very common thing right now, and maybe with social media or whatever. But
It could be. I noticed you're one of the only comics not on it anymore. You were on Instagram, but you're not on anything, right?
I'm one of the only ones. I thought
Out
there's
of
a
the
lot of
comedians
us.
I know, they live on social media, I think, a little bit. I think that's so cool, though,
No, it's not
that
cool. It's really
you.
bad. It's
Why?
stupid. It's bad because it's like you can't do, like, you're supposed to promote stuff. That's the whole thing, and knows what the hell's going on. I keep trying. I did this thing yesterday. I was so nervous about it. It was this pie tasting festival, and I was like, nobody's going to come to this thing because nobody
Did
knows
they?
about it.
Did they?
Well, people came and then we ran out of pie 90 minutes in. But it's like, I think it's like you just, you want people to see your stuff and but then also you kind of don't. It's very stupid.
For this pie tasting thing, what was the attraction? Like a lot of times with improvisers, when I get somebody to come to me with something that's very odd, I try to yes and it, even if I have some anxiety. I'm like, you know what? This makes absolutely no sense, and this is ridiculous. But I try to yes and. Is that your motivation for doing that, or why did you say it? Was it did they pay you?
Oh
For the
no, I
pie?
planned it.
Oh, you planned it. Okay, so you got you're in love with the idea, and you're like, this will be fun, and then the anxiety and just all the trepidation seeps in after you're in love with the idea. Is that basically it?
Okay. Actually, I'll say this, is that I'm pretty good at coming up with ideas. And I'd say I execute them really fast. They're not well executed. They're not I will say this, that I know this, they are not well executed. There are so many. It's just, I'm not type A. I wish I was type A so badly.
Audiences disagree because
We
they
ran out
love
of
your
pie
shows.
90 minutes in. I couldn't tell you. I was like, please don't use more than one plate. I don't have enough plates. It was just crazy. I just was like, it was so, and then to tabulate the votes on picking a winner, it was insane. I had 4 people backstage yelling out numbers. I was like, what are we doing? This could have been so much better organized. And so I just think that,
you got to do it again. Are you going to do it again? You have to.
I guess, but I think that I need somebody else that's smarter than me. I think this is the thing with all this stuff, is that I'm pretty good at coming up with an idea and making
Producing
it happen.
partner. You need a producing partner, maybe?
I need someone that's smart. I need a smart type A person that can do these things, that's really smart. And I'm pretty dumb and fast. And I think those are my 2 skills. I got mosquito life. Fast, flying around.
What would it take you to get back on stage to do stand-up? Do you think it's just that you'll go back to it at some point, or are you over it, do you think? Because there are certain people that are just like, I did it and I'm done and I don't want to get back. But what would get it for you to go back? Or do you think about it?
No, well, Love Island's coming back in September, so I gotta watch that every night. So I don't know.
If like someone like Esty at the Comedy Cellar called you or emailed you and we have a spot tonight, we really want you, you would say, I'm sorry, I'm taking a hiatus right now.
I don't even know a joke. I don't even know how to tell a joke. I don't know what I would possibly say. I tried this one joke and it really made people sad. And I thought, well, maybe I shouldn't do stand-up anymore.
There's people that still get up to this day that are doing material from 15 years ago.
I don't remember it. Mark, you would be great at that. You could do stand-up. I bet you could do stand-up from when you were 7.
My wife, Christine, is trying to get me to get back to do stand-up.
Really?
I haven't done stand-up in forever.
So what would it take for you?
Honestly, I am so nervous out of my mind. I have the material, but like...
Oh, you do?
I think I do. I mean, over like time, my stand-up, I would either do really well or I would bomb. There was no in between. And I just really liked doing the concept, the videotaping, to have the edits.
Yeah.
So I started doing those stunt videos and started getting on television and making a living doing it. So I was like, just that live audience would, I had in my head, and tell me if this is the right process. I was thinking if I start up again, I would just do open mics for a year and not do anything. I don't even know where I would go. There are more comedy clubs now and places to do comedy in New York than ever before. But I wouldn't even know how to start other than just maybe just doing open mics for a year and just getting up and just finding out who I am. What is your advice for me if I do start getting up? I have no idea.
I don't think you need to do open mics for a year. I think if people say, I think you've carved out a really fun career for yourself, and I don't think you need to be like, don't book me. Like, I think
I would, but I don't even know how to. Don't you have to go to those clubs and be like, I'm going to bring 7 people and they're going to pay 2 drink minimum and they're going to pay a cover?
I think you're kind of overshadowing your own contributions to comedy. If you know what I mean? You don't have to start fresh. You're not starting fresh.
I just have not done stand-up in literally 20 years.
But you know people that are doing stand-up, and you could maybe do 2 open mics to feel good. 3, 5,
Maybe.
I don't know, but don't do it for a year with no
Okay.
shows.
That's what I was gonna do. That
What
was
are you
my whole thing.
you
I wasn't gonna even
that's
tell anybody
masochistic.
that I was doing it either. I was
You're
gonna be like,
crazy. Don't do that.
okay.
That's crazy. You're basically trying to make sure you never do stand up again. Doing a year of open mics, no shows.
I can't believe I'm gonna be using this as a bit. But can I give you one of the premises I'm working on and see what you can do with it, and you can help me with a bit right
I
now?
know I can't, but yeah, you can tell me the premise. I'll enjoy that.
I well, I can't. I don't want to use you
No,
like
tell
that. You're
me.
one of my
Tell me.
guests. Okay, so one of my things that I think is absolutely ridiculous is parents that are very protective of their kids, and they're like, "You're not going to watch this. You're not going to do this," but they're okay with their kids dressing up like pirates. Like I see that on the subway because essentially pirates are terrorists. They're terrorists. There aren't any, like whatever their kid Liam and stuff. Okay, we're not going to stay away from sugar. We're going to do this, but you can pretend to be someone that pillages and murders, and that's okay. That's okay. But I'm just working on that premise. But do you like that premise?
I think that's fun. I think that you could maybe make it about how. Do you have kids?
I don't have kids. I have
No.
cats, but I am
Okay.
married. But that whole pirate thing is so ridiculous, and like just the whole Sesame Street thing, where they did a parody of Breaking Bad about crystal meth, and they're
That's
showing it to kids.
crazy.
Sesame Street, yeah, let's watch Sesame Street, and I love Sesame Street. I know people over there. I've been over there, but some certain things with parents that are like so protective of their kids, but it's okay that we're doing a parody on crystal meth, where you could do a parody on so many other things. But those are some premises I'm working on.
Well, maybe there's something about how you don't have a kid, but you want to dress your cat up like Jeffrey Dahmer, but you're only going to give her, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're only going to give her purified water and stuff.
I had a bit, and it's too dated, where I used to do stand up, and it used to always kill about Ann Geddes, the woman that would dress because she would dress the babies up like flowers and fruit, and I would always say, is it would like okay to do this with the elderly, like grandpa dressed up like a watermelon, and but that's dated. That is so dated. No one
No,
knows who
that's
she is
funny. I think you
anymore.
should just keep doing that.
Bring her back. Maybe I'll bring her back. But thank you for giving me confidence. See, this. I never intended or thought in a gazillion years because I do not feel comfortable normally opening my life up at all on this show unless it's something that's related to maybe late night a little bit. But I can't believe that this has been you're my life coach now. I guess for the
I'm
last.
sorry. I'm really sorry. That is really sucks for you. I really, uh, I will say, uh, I think that if, I think that if you go to a couple of open mics,
Yeah.
I think even just, I think it will give you confidence in your own.
Maybe it will, but the open mic places back in the day were some of the most toxic, most
Sure.
miserable
But I think that's why you
places.
shouldn't do it for a year. But I think
Yeah.
I think it's like you will feel good about your material where you're like, oh, look at these people that are doing it, and they're talking about terrible things.
Yeah. I also feel like I'm too old to be doing stand
No,
up.
no,
Okay.
no. But I think it's like the one main advantage of becoming older in the scene in comedy is just having a sense of distance and perspective where you're like, I have a wife, I have
Yeah,
a
I
kid, I
definitely
have
have
a podcast, I'm doing fine.
I definitely have the stories. And then last thing, because I gotta let you go, is since you're being my life coach, I have a book coming out on October 21st, which
Congrats.
everyone should pre-order. It's from Penguin Random House, which I know that you've worked with. It's Dutton Books. It's called Love Johnny Carson, and it's a book on Carson and the Tonight Show. I did a podcast for 8 years. I've talked to over 400 people. You've had a book that came out. It's super successful. Do you have any advice for me at all?
I think that, stay on social media, promote it that way. That's good.
Yeah.
And I would say that a lot of people feel, and myself included, like it's a little anticlimactic when the book comes out.
Okay, that's good to know that I can prepare myself for that.
And, like I would go into bookstores being like, oh, am I going to see it? It wouldn't be there. And I'd be like, okay, I got to stop doing this to myself. And I think that you got to just find a way to not think of it like a gig, not think of it like there's going to be a response. Like, I think you have to understand that people take a long time to read books. And if they enjoy it, you might never see that, but that's something that you did.
Do you read your reviews on Amazon? Because
No, I
Christine's
can't.
telling me I
No,
shouldn't do it. She's like,
don't do
stay
that.
away
Stay
when
away
they
from
start
Goodreads.
to.
Stay away.
You have over 2,000 reviews on Goodreads,
Block it.
and people
Block
love it.
Block it.
Wouldn't that help your self-esteem a little bit to
No,
read?
somebody sent me one Goodreads review, and it was, this is the dumbest fucking book I've ever read. And I said, why did you send me this? Why?
Oh my goodness, somebody sent that to you?
Yeah, and that was what it was about my book. It was the dumbest book they'd ever read.
I really think that people think that if you're a public figure and you've been on television, that you're immune to feelings. Like,
I got so many feelings. It's pathetic. I got one time we put out this Thunderdome game, and
yeah.
these 4 ladies reviewed it. They were all looking nice looking ladies. All were holding it with one hand, thumbs down with the other. I thought, I'm done looking at reviews. I can't look at reviews anymore.
Yeah, there is something comforting. I think if you're like a Tina Fey that has no social media presence and she just says to people, stay off the internet. It's tough to put something out there artistically, and it's sometimes so.
Yeah.
That's your advice for me. I will absolutely take it.
I can't wait to read your book.
Oh, thank you. I hope you like it.
I'm gonna pre-order it.
I hope so. I really appreciate it. It is one of those things. I've been working on it for 4 years, and that was probably the hardest thing I think I've ever had to do. As somebody that's ADHD, that has never done a book before, that has.
It's amazing.
I don't want to say I have as low confidence as you, but it's close.
Okay.
I mean, so I just was like no one's gonna like this and all this stuff, and I just like freaked out a lot for 4 years. People would say, enjoy the process. I had a very hard time enjoying the process. When you wrote your book, did you enjoy that process? I had the hardest time enjoying the process. Maybe if I was writing something more like that wasn't about somebody.
I think you kind of owe it to, like, there's a lot of people holding you accountable. Whereas with fiction, it's like, they're not really, they're like, okay, do what you can.
Everybody is been telling me for years I should write this Saturday Night Live memoir from when I used to go to the show and I would camp out and be pen pals with people in the cast. And it terrifies me. I tried to do it maybe 10 years as a book, and I couldn't get one place to go for it, but it's been so long, and comedy's different. I'm in a different place creatively and stuff.
Well, see how this one goes, and then
I guess,
yeah, and then just forget. Try to forget that it was painful, and then do it again.
Did people in LA have this anxiety? I feel like people in LA are just so relaxed and far removed. Is it a New York thing with us? Is there?
No, I think they're there. They're just, yeah.
Yeah. This was actually such a helpful. I never thought that that you'd be like a life coach for me, and I really appreciate it.
This was great. I love talking to you. It was nice.
I love talking to you. It's been too long that we've gotten to do this, but yeah, it's just amazing how prolific you've been, because I mean, you have Comedy Central specials. I've been there. You had your comedy album, The Hits. You did Butterboy, rather, your comedy show in Brooklyn for, was it 7 years? Was it 8 years?
Something like that. Yeah.
Who are some of your surprise guests? Because once in a while I would get told, you have to come to this alt show. I can't tell you who it's going to be. And then it's Galifianakis comes out and does his monologue. He's testing for Saturday Night Live. But who are some of those people that you couldn't tell were going to be on the show that were drop-ins?
That's a really good question. I don't remember any of it, but I remember it was fun. And I love Maeve, and I love Aparna, and I love Marianne and Don Will and Jordan Ashley.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are great that I didn't, we had some guest hosts. It was great. But I don't, Ben in the booth, beautiful time. Pizza from Pizza Plus, love the pizza, juicy pizza.
Yeah, you've done so much. It's amazing for somebody that's
everybody has. That's kind of the nature of
somebody that's been so non-career-y, that's succeeded so wildly. And I know that you don't feel that you have, but it's unbelievable, everything that you've done. And I hope, Fallon, they have you back, because your segment went really, really well. So thank you for doing this. And thank you for my self-esteem and helping me.
I wish you luck.
I wish you luck, Jo. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for listening. Please subscribe so you never miss an episode. On Apple Podcasts, please rate it and leave a review. Be sure to go to latenighter.com for all your late night TV news. And you can find my podcast at latenighter.com/podcasts. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next Tuesday.